Hello friends, this video is created by Siddharth Upadhyay, founder and creator of PrepWings. Log on to www.prepwings.com for complete free course videos. Okay, in this video we'll cover the concept of compound interest. Compound interest is the interest calculated on the initial principal and on the interest accumulated during the period. Okay, it is basically earning interest on principal as well as on the interest accumulated. Okay, compound interest is used in mostly all of the banking and loan transactions. So an example over here is shown. Suppose you take a loan of $100 at 10% interest rate per annum compounded annually for 2 years. Okay, here you'll have to pay $10 interest at the end of first year. Okay, but to calculate the interest at the end of second year, we'll calculate the interest on $100 at 10% per annum for 2 years and interest on $10 at the rate 10% per annum for 1 year. Okay, as $10 interest was accumulated at the end of first year. Thus, a total interest of $20 plus $1, which is $21, will be accumulated by the end of second year. Thus, the amount to be returned will be the principal amount, which is $100, plus the interest accumulated, which is $21. So, in 2 years, you'll have to return an amount of $121. Okay, so this is how compound interest works. The methodology that we'll use for compound interest question is that we'll treat compound interest as series of percentage increases on the initial principal to get the final amount. Okay, we will not use a formula for compound interest because using the formula can become cumbersome in some situations. Okay, and this is more logical. You'll see when we do examples. Now we will look at a question. The question says, calculate the amount when the initial investment of $500 is invested for 3 years and the interest rate is 8% per annum compounded annually. Okay, so over here the principal is $500, the time period is 3 years and the interest rate is 8% per annum compounded annually. Okay, so to find out the amount, what we'll do is we'll increase 500, which is the principal, by 8% 3 times. Okay, because an interest rate of 8% per annum means for every year 8% interest rate is there, and this is compounded annually. So after every year we have to increase the amount that we had at the beginning of the year by 8%. Okay, so to find the amount at the end of 3 years, what we'll do is we'll increase 500 by 8% 3 times. Okay, so thus amount is 500 is consecutively increased 3 times by 8%. So applying the concept of consecutive percentage increase, the amount will be 500 into 108 by 100 into 108 by 100 into 108 by 100, which is 629.856. Thus the amount after 3 years will be $629.856. Okay, this is how we can directly find out the amount in compound interest question. We don't need to use any formula. Okay, we'll look at another question now. It says, calculate the amount when the initial investment of $1,000 is invested for 3 years and the interest rate is 4% per annum compounded annually. Again, over here our principal is $1,000 and it is invested for 3 years at 4% interest rate per annum compounded annually. So amount will be equal to 1000 is consecutively increased 3 times by 4%. So amount will be 1000 into 104 by 100 into 104 by 100 into 104 by 100, which is 1124.864. Okay, so the amount will be $1124.864. Okay, now we'll look what will happen when the compounding period is not annual. Okay, in this case we need to adjust both the rate of interest and the frequency of compounding. We'll look at an example to understand that. Now suppose we have 10% interest rate per annum compounded semi-annually for 2 years. What this means is when the compound is happening for semi-annual period, it means every year the compounding will take place 2 times. Okay, so if the annual interest rate is 10%, the interest rate for 6 months will be 5%. Okay, thus the semi-annual interest rate becomes 5%. Okay, now the time period is 2 years, but we are doing compounding semi-annually. So if you look at it in 2-year time, there is 4 6-month periods. Okay, thus compounding will take place 4 times. So to calculate the amount, the principal will be increased 4 times by 5% consecutively. Okay, we'll look at an example now here. The example says calculate the amount when the initial investment of $500 is invested for 3 years at the interest rate of 8% per annum compounded semi-annually. Okay, so the compounding frequency is semi-annually over here. So our effective interest rate will be 4% now because the annual interest rate is 8%. So semi-annual interest rate will be 4%. And in 3 years, there are 6 periods of 6 months because every year there are 2 6 months period. So in 3 years there will be 6 6 months period. So the amount will be 500 is consecutively increased 6 times by 4%. Okay. So amount will be 500 into 104 by 100 raised to 6. Okay, because 104 by 100 will be multiplied 6 times. Okay, because it's a consecutive percent increase. So the final amount will be $632.7. Okay, so this is how we tackle if the compounding is not annual. Now we look at another example. It says calculate the amount when the initial investment of $1,000 is invested for 2 years and the interest rate is 8% per annum, compounded semi-annually for the first year and compounded quarterly for the second year. Now over here, the compounding frequency is different. Okay, for the first year it is semi-annual and for the second year it is quarterly. So for the first year, the semi-annual interest rate will be 4% because the annual interest rate is 8%. Okay, and in 1 year, this compounding will take place twice because there are 2 6 months period in 1 year. Okay, now if we come to the second year, if the annual interest rate is 8%, the quarterly interest rate will be 8% by 4, which is 2%. And the number of quarters in 1 year is 4. Okay, so because 1 year has 4 quarters. Okay, so now to find the amount, what we'll do is we'll directly increase the principal, which is $1,000, consecutively 2 times by 4% because the semi-annual interest rate of 4% is there for 1 year. So it is increased consecutively 2 times by 4% and then 4 times by 2%. Okay, because in the second year, what we do is the compounding happens quarterly. Okay, so the quarterly interest rate of 2% is applied for 1 year for the second year. Okay, and the second year has 4 quarters. So we have to increase that 4 times. Okay, so amount directly can be written as 1000 into 104 by 100 square into 102 by 100 raised to 4. Okay, this is consecutive percentage increase. That's what we have applied. Solving this, we get amount is equal to $1170.8. Okay, so this is how you can solve compound interest questions by using consecutive percent increase concept. Okay, so this is all about compound interest. Thanks a lot for watching this video.